What we're doing, we're taking this car, which is Paul Golding's old shed, race car, and attempting to complete the Dubai 24 Hours race. I think the inspiration for this partly came from doing 1,000 kilometres of Brands last year, where the cars lasted really well. And after that, the decision was taken by Mr. Golding, the aforementioned, to try and get this car around for 24 hours. So it's a bit new territory. I've certainly never done a 24-hour race. This car hasn't, this team hasn't, but got a lot of great people behind us, as you can see, literally behind me, led by Golding, Essex Autosport, Mr. Williams involved as well, and all really excited. The drivers are myself, Pete Story, Simon Phillips, and Ken Savage. All of us are veterans of the Lotus on Track series, and we're looking forward to ragging it senseless, and hopefully, if we're very lucky, we're going to make it get over the line and then explode and never be used again, which would be perfect.
3,000 miles and 30 degrees away from the usual hunting ground, Team Lotus Elise Trophy here in the United Arab Emirates for the 6th running of the Dunlop 24 Hours of Dubai. After an arduous container ship journey over from Rotterdam, the car arrived in the pits, the Dubai Autodrome, ready to be reassembled after its long voyage. This was to prepare the car for scrutineering, where it was going to be weighed, checked for safety, and then giving the drivers and the team the opportunity to size themselves up against the other 89 cars lining up on the grid. Team Lotus Elise Trophy were in Class A2, predominantly against Renault Clios, but the car was the least powerful and lightest car on the grid. It's unlikely the team were going to meet the fastest lap from last year's event of 2 minutes and 3.348 seconds, but a good time was almost certainly in store. Amongst the pre-race favourites was the spectacular SLS AMG Mercedes and the always very good-looking Renault Megane Coupes. Scrutineering with 90 cars was always going to be a very busy affair. The field snaking out around the paddock, and the diminutive Lotus Elise sitting there waiting for its turn to be checked over by the Dutch organisers. Maybe the orange paint scheme was going to curry favour. As scrutiny was going on, the scrutineers engaged in quite a lengthy discussion to do with the safety harness, which managed to slip down in between the seat in the Elise, and therefore the scrutineers couldn't find it and were on the cusp of failing the car. After much hand waving, the scrutineer came back over, found the missing harness. After some assistance from just about every member of the Lotus Elise team, they found the harness, smiles all round, and with a couple of final checks done to the car, the scrutineer more than happy to pass it to compete in the 6th Dubai 24 Hours. The all-important pass sticker coming onto the windscreen, smiles all around, tap on the roof, and away we go.
We'll do this when we come back in.
Yeah, let's worry about them, mate. Let's just get the car out and drive.
Don't bin it, said the team to Andrew Walsh as he drove through the garage and out onto the Dubai Autodrome for the car's first running of the meeting. The fantastic facility, the new challenge for Lotus Elise, as Andrew accelerated down the pit lane and out onto the circuit for the first time. This meant that the team were nervously standing outside the garage, waiting for Andrew to safely complete his first couple of laps on a very busy circuit, crammed with exotica, as 90 cars were out on track, getting in some vital pre-race running. First run completed, Andrew came back into the pits, where the Dunlop tyre technician was soon to pounce to check out the slick tyres that the car was running for the first time. Although the first run was largely problem 3, a problem was detected with second gear. This gearbox was going to be changed anyway for the race, but that left the team with no spare. Therefore, a luckless girlfriend was detailed to pick up the spare gearbox, book into a flight and take 48 kilos of hand luggage across to the Middle East to give the team a spare gearbox in time for the race, although there was no hours overlap from the race starting and the flight landing. Aside from that, the team were largely happy with how initial testing were going, although there was some fairly detailed debriefing from test driver Andrew to the race drivers. With 43 hours to go until the race start, the team got hard at work preparing the car for qualifying. Gearbox swapped. Next day, the team were all ready for qualifying. They had 90 minutes with which to set their mark. It was Pete Story who led the charge out of the pit lane. The first hour of qualifying was given over to all of the teams being out on track, and then there was a further 30 minutes for some of the smaller classes to get in some additional running as well. So plenty of opportunity for all 4 drivers to get in the required number of laps to qualify. As you can see, it's a very busy pit lane. Well, the good news was that throughout qualifying, the car was running faultlessly. Ken Savage waiting for his traction so that he can run his laps. Out to the car clambers James Knight, and Ken getting in to enjoy some valuable seat time here at the Dubai Autodrome. The challenge, of course, during qualifying is not only to try and set your lap time, but also steer clear of the traffic all around, and that doesn't just go for the track but also the pit lane. Look at how many people are around and about in the pit lane looking after the cars, doing the media reporting and also helping manage the pit lane and keep it safe. The drivers constantly swapping throughout the qualifying period as Simon takes us over the line, completing a lap along past the pit barriers. You can see the speed differential between the Elise and some of the other cars in the field for the 6th Dunlop 24 Hours of Dubai. Down the hill into turn 1, the BMW coming out of the pit lane, down the gears and through the right-hander. The sessions went on and the sands got cleared from the track. A racing line emerged and the track was just getting faster and faster. Superb facility, the Dubai Autodrome, sitting in the rolling hills just outside the city of Dubai, next to the new Ferrari World theme park. So a motorsports mecca that is being developed in Dubai. Well, the fastest time in qualifying came from James Knight. We now ride with James, who takes us for a lap of the Dubai Autodrome.
Okay, so qualifying for the Dubai 24 Hours race. Obviously, the objective is to keep the car safe, not be a hero. We've got 24 hours to get through, hadn't had a lot of time on the circuit either, so those gratuitous excuses aside, let's break downhill the first corner. Loads of grip from those sticky slick tyres, which we got more and more used to over the race. Here the trick is to stay left, or get left as early as possible, which I didn't do qualifying, hence a bit of a lift, but otherwise flat. This section was fantastic during the night, going uphill, although very slippery offline due to the marbles. Let the car breathe out to the left here for a very interesting corner. I clipped the apex in qualifying. The curb on the exit was vicious, so best avoided. Most important corner on the circuit coming up as it precedes the longest straight. Here I left it in third, drifted to the middle and turned in, got on the power nice and early. Try to use some of the slipstream from the car in front. I don't think so. During the night this straight was awesome. We've got all the faster cars coming streaming past you, either side, absolutely amazing. Although kind of wished I was in one of the quicker ones. Down here, heavy braking for a second gear hairpin, the first of the two. Don't go too far out to the left here because there's another left-hander coming up. Again, nice and easy. You won't see a lot of work on the wheel on these laps because the car had very sticky tyres and not a lot of power, so it's dead easy to drive, to be honest. And again, the second hairpin on the right here, floor it as early as possible because there's a bit of a mini straight coming up. It looks like it's got curves, but again with this car and this grip, it's flat out all the way. Twiddle your thumbs, think about what you might have for dinner, that sort of thing. Maybe even a song. This corner was very annoying because ultra late apex really tightens on you. You couldn't get on the power early at all. think probably trying a bit too early. Again, a couple of right-handers here before the main straight, flat out from here, down to the final corner. Got to get on the power early again. I think I got on it a bit too early, missed the apex by a metre or two, and oops, sorry ball, yes, rode the curb on exit. But over the line, and I think a 2:29, I think was probably another 4 or 5 seconds, but hey, I'm not Lewis Hamilton.
He might not be Lewis Hamilton, but as race day dawned, does Lewis Hamilton have the full support of the Royal Marines of HMS Cumberland, who are there as guests of Team Elise Trophy. French fighter pilot Jean-Baptiste acting as the grid girl as the team prepared for the start in the heat of the Dubai day. Racing got underway as the car surged towards turn one. It was Simon Phillips who had the job of starting the car for the drivers 24 hours in prospect, and for the potential candidates for the race win, almost 600 laps to be completed of the Dubai Autodrome. The little Elise was going to do a few less than that, as Phillips was kept very busy on the run downhill towards turn one. You can see the cars fanning out 3 abreast as Phillips moved down through the gears, safely negotiating the first corner, and then on his way for 24 hours of racing. The plan for Team Elise Trophy was to do 2-hour stints, and then each pit stop do some refuelling and change the drivers around. But 2 hours in the heat of Dubai was going to be hard work for the driver lineup. So the 4 drivers, 2 hours on, 6 hours off, could be a gruelling time. Even more so for the team, had to be on duty in the garage for the entire duration of the race. We saw how hard they worked in the build up to it as well. We often say in motor racing, you can't win the race on the first lap, but you can certainly lose it, and that is no more true than the 24-hour race. And Simon Phillips, much to the relief of everybody back in the garages, safely negotiating the opening corners as the Evora charged up through the field from the back of the grid. You can see them weaving through the pack as Phillips was just managing his pace.
Now got to the refuelling area, just give us an update on how the car's going. Yeah, he's in this lap, he's about 3/4 of a lap away, it's nearly ready. Alright, come into pit lane now, thanks guys, come into pit lane now. Straight in, straight in. They're actually queuing up now for fuel. There is several A2 cars in at the moment. Can you advise what to do, please? Steve, I need to know how much fuel the car currently says. If it's got enough fuel in it, we're going to send it back out on circuit. Can you hear me? I can hear you, Steve. How much fuel? How much fuel? How much fuel? Showing green. Showing refill, refill. Oh. Yeah, he's showing refill because it's been on the jack. Showing refill, let's not risk it, do not risk it. How big a queue have you got? The queue is going down, but we've still got 4 cars waiting to get into the area. Okay, understood. Right, we have refill on dash. Do we risk it or do we wait for fuel? Everyone's coming in, sending down to the refueling station. Let's get in that queue. Ken, proceed to fueling, main speed limit. Watch one, release it.
The first pit stop out of the way for Team Elise Trophy. There was then disappointment for Burge Schneider in the SLS AMG Mercedes as he pitted in too late to get a glimpse of the Lotus Elise, which had already left the pit box. On the compressed air jacks, the team taking full advantage of the gull-wing doors for Schneider to slip out and the second driver to get in with a set of fat slicks all around. A very slick pit stop from the team in the neighbouring garage to Team Elise Trophy, who were watching on, camera phones to the ready as the Mercedes crew got to work. A hive of activity in the pit lane, and mechanics are working in a very pressurised environment with the race going on and so many spectators enjoying the beautiful Mercedes machinery. And we were only 3.5 hours into the race at this point. There was still well over 20 hours of racing to go as the Mercedes successfully left the pit. Others were in all sorts of problems, this Clio having sustained a lot of damage to the front left.
Phil, Steve. Yeah, go ahead, Steve. Car is technical, car is in box, we have an issue. Okay, understood. We'll wait here, thank you. Main battery lead, large tag on alternator broken, so not an alternator change, just electrical wiring. We've just found a tag, working on it now.
Well, fortunately the electrical problem didn't turn out to be too serious, and as that pit stop more or less coincided with the scheduled pit stop at the 4-hour mark anyway, it wasn't too much time lost. So the team back onto track with just 20 hours of racing remaining. And we're not in car with Ross Swift here. The camera was knocked sideways due to some rather enthusiastic curb hopping from the drivers, so it's now Pete Story's turn to negotiate possibly the most challenging conditions of the race, and that is the Dubai sunset. The sun going down very quickly in the Middle East and really providing quite a lot of glare in the driver's eyes. You know it, the way that Pete Story is just smoothly threading the car around the Dubai Autodrome. And if you look out the windscreen there as well, you can see the amount of marbles and rubber that's now coming down on a well-worn racing line. Look into the bottom left of the screen as well, you can see the glare from the headlights of the cars behind as Pete gets passed by a Porsche and a Mercedes through the corner, and almost not knowing quite where to place the car, as then one of the Aston Martins blasts past him onto the straight. Darkness came down, so the incidents continued. The cars are behind a safety car. This is a code 60, which is the regulation in the Dubai 24 hours. That means the cars must proceed around the circuit at no more than 60 kilometres an hour, whilst the recovery teams get to work clearing up the incident. The Lotus staying on track with the fluorescent number, making it easy to pick out the 86 car. Throughout the night, the pit stops continued, and very strict regulations as well governed the number of mechanics who could work on the car at any one time. Essentially, it was 4 people wearing those fluorescent yellow waistcoats, very flattering the R2, plus one additional team member to clean the windscreen. And given that it was a manual jack and wheel nut operation here to change the slicks, it could be a reasonably lengthy pit stop. That said, the Elise a lot kinder on its tyres than some of the other cars in the race, and therefore tyre changes were far more infrequent. You can just see the inspection going on for the brake pad wear, and to make sure that all the car internals are working as planned as the windscreen continues to get a good rub. Each pit stop was taking something like 6 to 7 minutes, including fuel, so really a very slick operation. Pete Story giving the double thumbs up as he prepares to head out into the circuit. It's one of the fantastic GANs finishes its pit stop. Into the night, lights ablaze, and you can see in car here with Ken just how little he can really see, not unlike driving on the M6 at night, with cars flashing by on every side, and Ken being passed on one side and then the other as he comes along the back stretch here, Dubai Autodrome. Elise, as we said earlier, the least powerful car in the race, so being lapped was a fairly common occurrence. At the same time, Ken putting in some very strong lap times. It goes into the hairpin. This isn't one of those very strong lap times, so he lost the rear of the car. Unfortunately, he wasn't tagged by anybody and was able to continue on his way without too many problems. Stint over, Ken came back into his pit area, having completed his stint, and 4 new slicks ready and waiting. Throughout the night, the team running very nicely indeed. The pit stops going to plan. The stints, despite the odd spinners we saw, without really too much drama. The only incident during the night was that the Elise got tagged by a Lamborghini, getting a little bit of minor damage, but otherwise no problems at all. Stops giving plenty of time as well to inspect the engine bay to ensure that everything was working as it should do. Clear, engine fire up, and back out into the race once they found first gear. The Lotus 211 of the NFS racing team had rather more adventures. The team comprising of Julian Griffin, a resident of the United Arab Emirates, Rob Barr from the UK, and the Swiss driver Frederick Gaillard had all sorts of problems. At the very start of the race, they were hit by a loose wheel from a Porsche, and that necessitated the gaffer tape repairs to the front of the car. Then during the night, they were hit in the rear of the car and damaged the exhaust, eventually putting them out of the race. This is the Sunred team from Spain in their Seat, and they were the garage mates of Team Elise Trophy. So as we went just over the halfway stage of the race, the Seat, which was leading its A3T class, making very good progress, very slick driver change, quite such a slick pit stop, just making sure the wheel is on, and back into the race goes the Seat from the Spanish team. Well, the work continued to the rear of the Lotus 211, trying to change the exhaust, unfortunately to no avail. An unnamed culprit was guilty of speeding in the pit lane, and the car therefore had to come in and serve its stop and go penalty. This was done with no problems at all, losing a little bit of time in the scheme of a 24-hour race, not really too much of a hindrance. Team just checking the rule book to make sure that the car was stationary for the appropriate amount of time before Steve Williams gives the thumbs up signal and the car is able to get back out into the race. Throughout what seemed like an endless night, the Lotus continued to pound round and put in some very strong laps, and as we had completed almost 15 hours of racing, the Lotus was still going strong, really without too many major mechanical issues either along the way. Night racing, always spectacular, and shows the enduring popularity of 24-hour racing. Simon Phillips, turn 2, go out into the night, but then he had to pit in due to some problems with the rear wheel hub, and due to where they needed to change that. It was about an hour's work, all told. The team working in the public garage very quickly, very effectively. All the work done, and it was Ken Savage's turn to get strapped in the car and prepared to go out for the next stint. By this stage in any 24-hour race, the cars really do become driving wounded, and everybody's had little niggles along the way. On the other side, the Lotus still out in the night. It's proven to be a very busy pit lane. It was Ken Savage who got to do the dawn shift, always one of the trickier times in any 24-hour race. Not just the light change as the sun comes up, but also the psychological impact of the fact that with the sun coming back up, the track getting lighter, the teams sense that the end is near. At this stage there was still well over 10 hours of racing to go, as Ken had a lot of fun menacing one of the far faster Porsches through some of the twistier sections of the Dubai Autodrome. And the car still running as the sun came up, an achievement in itself, and I think if you said to the team as they came out to Dubai that the car was still running at this point, they'd have probably taken that. As it was, the car was still running well up in its class, and still running very smoothly. Kept being swamped by some of the faster runners on the straight. 18 hours into the race, so still 6 hours to go. For real money, that is 4 Grand Prix left in the race, as Ken putting pressure on to one of the Seats. These are the race leaders. Need for Speed Schubert coming in to serve their pit stop. German efficiency at its very finest. Well, the pit stop still Team Elise Trophy, looking very smooth, and not really much slower than the race leaders either. Coming towards the end of the races, pit stop strategy was becoming key, because the team were in a podium position, and if they could just lengthen the stint slightly, that would minimise the number of pit stops that they needed to do, and thus enabling the car to complete more laps on the circuit rather than pitting in. So they seem getting hard at work as well to get those pit stops done as quickly as possible. Need for Speed Schubert team that came through to win the race, being led by the World Touring Car Championship star Augusto Farfus, and an all-star driver lineup, which really shows the growing prestige of the Dubai 24-hour race and the calibre of team and driver attracted to the challenge in the desert here in the United Arab Emirates. So the race leading BMW heads out onto the track. A quick check that all is working with the 86 Elise. Probably stepping clear of the car. The instruction given to fire the engine up and back out into the race. Go our heroes. Just a couple of hours still to go. It's now the time when everybody starts getting very nervous. Frantic checking of the rule book to make sure all the I's have been dotted, all the T's have been crossed with regards to the pit stop requirements, so that the team, all things being equal, will be able to come through and claim a podium. But then disaster, the team pitting unexpectedly in the closing stage, just a couple of hours to the end of the race. The rear hub had seized, and the Essex Autosport mechanics got back to work as the team and drivers looked on patiently. Well, the Black Falcon Mercedes team from next door very kindly lent the team some equipment, made repairs far easier to do than would otherwise have been the case. So the team working flat out as climbing into the car with an hour and a half to go. It was going to be Pete Story who had the job of bringing the car home in the closing stages. instruction from the team, now that all hope of the class podium have gone, was very much, don't do anything silly, just look after the car, make sure you bring it home in one piece. So we ride in car with Pete, we move towards the end of what has been a great adventure for the team, and has been a superb race and team performance as well. Everybody from the 6 Autosport quad and Lotus on Track Elise Trophy and the drivers putting in a superb effort in what has been a very successful debut outing in the Dubai 24 Hours. But it's not done yet. They've still got to make it through those final few laps to the checkered flag, as Pete Story goes for a slightly ambitious, make that very ambitious, overtaking manoeuvre on one of the Clios into turn 1. Content with dispatching one of the orange French rockets. He then goes the inside of another one through turn 3 as he tacks at 100% out on the fast curves back stretch of the Dubai Autodrome. Turning through the right-hander, getting on the power nice and early, perhaps too early as the rear of the car breaks away. Arms and elbows everywhere, but Pete Story keeps pointing in the right direction, and that minor driver aside still running as we had the traditional formation finish, a fine celebratory end to what has been an excellent 6th running the Dunlop 24 Hours of Dubai. As leaders came across the line, all eyes from Team Elise Trophy were to the final corner, where Pete Story came through for the final time and accelerated up to the finish line, the checkered flag and the cheers of the pit crew. 24 hours, 460 laps later, it has been a super effort from everybody at Team Elise Trophy. Some very well-deserved handshakes. It's been a great race, and they prepare for their next challenge in Barcelona.